Okay, well, let's just pick up from where we left off.
All right, cool. Sounds good to me.
On my notes, I've got where we went through question 34 on this test. So let's start from 35. I don't know if I told you or not. The GoToMeeting control panel that's on your desktop, you can make that be smaller by clicking on the orange arrow in the upper left hand. That's a toggle switch, which will make it get smaller or get bigger. It clears up.
It does it. It does it automatically for me.
Oh, it does. Okay, good. All right. Let's look at this problem right here. Now, whenever you see a solution, when you see a solution that looks like this, does that remind you of anything?
No.
What about the quadratic formula? Do you remember what it is?
Yeah. Like b or x equals plus or minus b to second,
Here's what it is. Okay, if we look at that, that is going to produce answers that look very much like that. Notice the similarities.
Yeah.
So if this is one solution, what's the other solution?
Look
at that.
Would it be
plus,
E?
look at that plus or minus. Yes.
Yeah, it'd be E.
Yes. In other words, 7 plus root 17 over 2. If you're familiar with the quadratic formula and how to use it, then you know that it produces solutions that look a lot like that, what I have circled. In other words, it's going to be a plus or minus kind of solution. So if you recognize that, you instantly know the answer to this is E. However, let's assume we didn't know that. Well, if I was trying to solve this from scratch, how would I do it? If my equation is x squared minus 7x plus 8 equals 0, and the quadratic formula tells me that the solution to a quadratic equation can be always found using this. So let's figure out how to solve this quadratic. Without looking at the answers, what would the answer be here? What's minus b?
7.
Plus or minus, what's b squared?
17.
49. Minus 7 squared is 49.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, minus 4. A is what?
7.
Actually,
No, sorry.
A is the coefficient of the squared term, so it's 1.
Okay, 1.
B is this term, and C is this term.
So 8.
Okay. Okay, so if we do that math, and it's all divided by 2a,
2.
which is 2.
1. Yeah, so 2.
Okay, now we have 7 plus or minus the square root 49 minus 32 is 17 over 2. So those would be our two solutions. But a lot of people are used to looking at this. What does that mean? It means x is equal to 7 plus root 17 over 2, or x is equal to 7 minus root 17 over 2. And so when they gave you one solution here, we know the other solution has to be the plus end of it. If we're really familiar with the quadratic, we can get this problem in 10 seconds. If we have to actually use it to solve, then it's going to take a while longer. But you should be able to use the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation. Okay, let me just give you another one. Let's do a test on that. I'm going to make one up. Okay, so use the quadratic equation to solve this.
It's going to be negative 2.
Okay, remember here, let me write the quadratic. It's equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So let's just fill in. What's
so just be 2.
Just plus 2, because it's minus a minus.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 plus or minus 2 squared minus 4 3 1
All over
2 times 2.
2 times
4.
3. In other words, this is a.
Oh yeah, again 2a, okay.
The coefficient of the x squared term is always a. B is always the coefficient of the x term, and c is always the constant. So it would be over 6. Yeah. Okay, so now if we try to simplify that, we get x equals 2 plus or minus, well, the square root of 4 minus 12 is negative 8 all over 6. So the fact that this is the square root of a negative 8 means that this particular problem that I just gave you only has imaginary solutions, because we're taking the square root of a negative number. So this would be 2 plus or minus the square root of 8i, because I is the square root of negative 1, all over 6. And then the square root of 8 is the same as the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. So the square root of 8 I can change into 2 square roots of 2.